On clip from YouTube, or because these women
Mm.
really, really believe that God is going to send them their perfect man.
So let me ask you something when it comes to spirituality. So first question, do you have a religion that you claim?
So I was raised Christian, but then I would say I identify spiritual. I acknowledge and respect everybody else's religion.
Hmm. Okay. So was part of your quote unquote brainwashing, did some of that come from the Christian church as well?
Most definitely. I mean, I was strong in church. As growing up in Jamaica, we go to Wednesday night prayer meeting, Saturday night youth service, Sunday church, Sunday night prayer. It's like I was
Mm.
strong in church, and never once, especially being at youth service, never once was I told, hey, you're going to need a husband. It was always focus on your education, go to school, and don't look at boys, even in church. And to even look back and observe that, that's quite disgusting, for lack of better words, because the church should be the one that's helping. If you care
Mm.
about family, as the Bible said you should, right? The Bible put
Mm.
us on God put us on earth to reproduce, right?
Right.
So we're supposed to care about pairing off, but the fact that the church didn't even emphasize, like, and I was like 15, 16, that was the age where you should have been teaching me about boys, teaching me about dating. But the church advised me to just come to church, read your Bible, and go to school. Um, and a lot of these women, we find a lot of women don't wake up to the echo chamber. They don't wake up to the matrix that we're in. To find these women still 40, holding on to the faith that God is going to send them their men. I mean, it's like, dang, if God didn't send him yet, like, why do you think he's still coming? You know, the church
Mm.
really did play a part in me not being married at this age, 100%.
Yeah, and I asked that because in my area, that has been a big thing because it's been a lot of people in my family that are bishops and missionaries and mothers of the church, all that stuff. So I spent a lot of time being in the church as well growing up. But the sad thing is, and I see Kevin Samuels, of course, saying this, and other brothers saying this, like a lot of men have left the church.
Mm-hmm.
And what's so sad is because it's been a lot of pandering going on to the women and just holding the men accountable. But I noticed that there's rarely that many churches that have counseling for marriages. I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that too. They don't have anything. It's just, Bible study, men's study, women's study, kids study, and stuff like that. But they don't have anything for the men and women. And most pastors are usually married, but the sad thing is now they just void that out the church. So I want to ask you on that as well. So as you like you said, as you got older, they didn't teach you about any of those things. So do you still go to church? And do you still
I,
notice that same thing, or have you kind of backed away?
yeah, I don't go to church. Not because I'm like anti-church, but I moved away, and I just didn't find the need to find a church in the area, and I mean, it is what it is. I would add to that, though, that they do have single ministries, but the single ministries in church is just keeping single people single, because it's the single people running the single ministry talking about, oh, hold on to faith, God is going to send you your man. Nothing to
Mm-hmm.
prepare these women how to be wives. The single ministry should be to prepare you to be a wife, but that's not what they're doing.
Mm. That is so true because I knew this one sister some years back, and I'm thinking, all right, she works, she take care of her daughter, and I was a single father, and I seen she was one of the people that was trying to lead the ministry because I used to work in and like youth programs and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So the place I worked at, she was holding one of those events. So I'm thinking she's a good sister. So I'm like, let me shoot my shot. Let me. So we just talking here and there, seeing each other. And so I tried once or twice and I got turned down. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, you're doing singles ministry. I'm a Christian, you Christian. We look like we're trying to do positive things in life. Come to find out, she, because a couple of my guy friends actually used to talk to her too. So come to find out, she would try to talk to guys who were either in relationships or married.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, what Bible are you reading? Like, I thought the Bible that we both read was saying to not commit adultery, to not transgress upon somebody's husband or wife, but she tried to. So one of my buddies, he turned her down. Like she really liked him, and he was just talking to me about it. And he was like, "Bro, I didn't get it." You know what I mean? And she asked him, did he love his wife?
Wow.
And, and, and he
Wow.
looking like, I'm married, ain't I?
And
So
she's the one
yeah,
leading the singles ministry.
yes,
Wow.
yes, yes. So for me, that bothered me because I was like, okay, so being a good, decent guy
Hmm.
got me how far with somebody who's supposed to be in the word like me for her to still do something like that. So have you ever seen any women around you or known any women or heard of any women that, they act like they in the church, but they would still go after a guy who's in a relationship or married?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I can't say I'm going after a guy that's in a relationship or married, but I know a few women who are strong in the church, but they having babies with the Pookie and Ray Rays. Like,
Mm,
how you strong in the church, leading a ministry, but your kids all have different dads. Like,
mm.
like, come on, let's be real. You can't just pick and choose where in the Bible we're going to acknowledge. And then we have these women still sitting. I mean, I'm not saying shame them and bash them from the church, but you can't be having this kind of behavior leading the church. And I think that's why a lot of men have left, because the pastors aren't calling out these behaviors.
Right, right. Yeah, that's true. I see it a lot where you have more women and more than enough kids and baby fathers, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like at the front of the church, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll see these women clapping, holding devotion and all of that stuff, leading devotion ministry and all that stuff. And I used to just be looking around the church and be like, this is does not feel right.
Mm-hmm.
And then these pastors a lot of time they spend most of the time trying to take up offering nowadays.
That's what they care about. But if we're in a society now where certain behaviors can't be shamed anymore. I
Mm,
mean, remember back in the day, because we can't even bring it to that bonnet incident that happened a couple months ago. I remember back in the days when if you wear a bonnet out on the street, you were labeled a specific kind. You by wearing the bonnet, you know that you're not. You're labeled for
yeah,
lack of.
you're not lady.
Yeah. But then now it's like no one can call anybody out, no one can shame anybody for certain behaviors. Like there's no line anymore. Everything is acceptable and we should just accept. But then also everything is acceptable on the woman's side, because the men, especially black men, are still expected to be held at a certain standard and to still represent a certain way to get the slightest respect from
Mm,
women. But the woman can just do whatever. There's no standards for women.
mm. So this other question. So